welcome. David Yells asked me if I had a bottle of wine to christen the new room that we're in today. We don't have that, but welcome to the new classroom and the new classroom building. We're excited to do this today. As you can tell, we're experimenting here a little bit with our maiden voyage. This is 2/3 of the building of this extended auditorium classroom. So please come on in. I think I'm not. This is like the demilitarized zone. I'm not to cross that line, but I'll reach out and wave to everyone across the way there. Wonderful to be with you. It's a busy, exciting time as always. It seems to be here at the university, and lots to talk about. More to talk about, frankly, than we have time to talk about in terms of the state of the university. And so I want to do something a little different than I've done in years past. I think each year, as you know, I've always had a sort of a prepared statement to make, but there's so much I want to show you this year, as much as tell you, that I thought it might just be better this year to have it more focused on some of the presentation, some of the things that we're going to be looking at together, and then just talking about where we are as an institution and how we're moving forward. So with that, I'd like to address a few critical issues facing the university. Looking to the future. A couple of you have seen this before, but we found in our archives a wonderful set of predictions about this campus. Given back in 1981, Arvo Van Alstyne, Commissioner of Higher Education for the state of Utah, came down as associated with the launch of our new main campus in the Orem area. And he made these predictions moving forward, and I can't resist sharing a number of them with you today. So here they are. First one, the school would be called Mountain Lands Technology University. Well, he didn't get that right. But the next one, at least see some of it. Sports at BYU, now primarily a graduate professional school, have been on decline. MTU now hosts the Holiday Slag Bowl in a beautiful 120,000-seat stadium carved out of the former Geneva slag pile. There is so much I could say right now. But the press is here, so we'll just keep moving along. The next prediction is Val Peterson's favorite prediction. Parking and heating will not be a problem, because students are transported among the three campuses through an intricate network of people mover color-coded tubes arching over I-15, carefully identified according to student majors and computer controls. Stay tuned for PBA next year. Okay? All right. Now, we'll continue in these predictions. Some of these are remarkably prescient. Land vacated by Geneva Steel will be a major addition to campus. I did not know that. Val did not know that. We as a cabinet did not know that that he had made that prediction. This was sort of a discovery after the fact. We're glad we could make Arvo a profit, and that's come to be. Enrollment at BYU will be capped, and MTU will reach 42,000. Well, BYU's capped. We're on our way. We probably won't hit it by 2018, but we will hit it. Again, a remarkably prescient prediction. And international promise through satellite transmission of courses transmitted worldwide. It's probably not satellite, it's probably internet, but again, very interesting set of pictures of the future. And we have to do the same, and we do a fair amount of this here, is to envision the future and start to plan for where we're going, though no one should plan on a 120,000 seat stadium anytime soon. So with that, take a look at that picture, 1981. That really is not that long ago. I'm sure there are people in this audience who were here in 1981. And look where we are today. Absolutely. That applause is for yourself, it's for your predecessors, it's for every student, faculty, and staff who have built that institution up from that little original building that this space was into something as magnificent as all of that, with all of the infrastructure and the beauty of the setting. Just a remarkable, remarkable accomplishment. So I want to talk about this for a minute. This is the year of celebration in many respects. You recall that we took some time at the Founders Day celebration to take stock of where we are. And I want to continue that theme because I don't think we do this enough, and this is a year to do it, when we really step back and see what this institution has accomplished. So a few things beyond things that we've talked about, maybe even at faculty and staff convocation, in recognition of this magnificent climb of this institution. So, first of all, as we do that, I think it's absolutely imperative that we remind ourselves what is the vision for this institution. What is it that we're trying to achieve? And again, we say this all the time, over and over again. We take it as the direction for our spending priorities, for our internal activities, our external activities. We're a regional teaching university that is focused on student success, promotes student success. That's the heart of what this institution is about. And that we do that by providing a learning environment that's serious, engaged, and inclusive. This is what UVU is and aspires to be. Now, with that, we also have a system charge, if you will. And our system charge, very clearly stated, along with Slick, Weber, and Dixie, UVU will be asked to pick up the bulk of the state enrollment increases in the years ahead. So in other words, we have to take that institutional vision and we have to consistently scale that in order to achieve our mandated mission as a growth institution, an open admission growth institution in this state. So that's been our vision, that's been our mission, and I'm here to say that in many respects, we have achieved it. We're not perfect, we're not finished, but we've done a remarkably fantastic job against that institutional vision and system charge. So let's talk about just some things. A campus transformed. You saw the global picture of it. You're sitting in one manifestation of it here. New classroom building, new science building, new We Care Center, new Student Life and Wellness Center that have completely transformed the physical look, feel, and ability of engagement on this campus. And we've done that through you folks, building the kind of programs and attracting the kind of students that warrant those sort of facilities. We've done it through the support of regents and trustees and legislators who have seen the power of this institution and knew that it needed to grow and develop in fairly radical ways, at least relative to many other institutions in the system, and certainly on a pace that outstrips them. So we're grateful for everyone coming together and making that happen. With that, we're not finished. If you haven't heard, we had a major announcement just this last week about our next capital facilities project and priority, which is the arts building. A major missing piece of a serious university is that we do not have a center for performing and visual arts on this campus. We do know that the hurdle was high. We knew that going into it. It's one of the reasons that we haven't been able to tackle it sooner. We had to take care of some other priorities first. I'm grateful to the Arts College of Arts for being patient and supportive as we pursued some of those activities, but it's their turn, and we have to get this done. And the hurdles are high, and the legislature said we'd have to bring a fair amount of private funding for it, and we were delighted to announce just the other day we've raised $15.4 million in support of a new arts center. Thank you. I'm so grateful again to our college that has developed these sterling programs that are so easy to get behind and represent with vigor and enthusiasm. Grateful for a community that stepped forward, the county commission has stepped forward, our own foundation has stepped forward, and then generous donors. none of whom, by the way, are graduates of this institution. That's a built-in disadvantage we have at this point. We don't yet have a sort of a critical mass of really affluent graduates. We'll get there. We're starting to see some of that. But as for now, we're looking to people who simply get the vision of UVU and want to get behind it. And they're doing that because of the things that you are all doing. So I'll say more about this when we get to the legislative session. As exciting as this announcement is, it doesn't mean we have the building, that we can start putting shovels in the ground. I'll say more about that later. But it does mean there's a path forward. We can see a path to victory on this project now. Big step forward for us this year in terms of our base funding. This graph, as you can see, reflects the challenge that we've gone through. I don't know what it means that I showed up right here. Woo! Okay. Welcome, Matt Holland. This was a time of intense growth, a time of economic challenge in the state, and that was a double whammy for us, precipitously lowering our percentage of tax funding from the state, but we've gone to work on that. We got it to plateau in 11-12 with some equity money, started to turn the corner in 12-13, and then last year made our most dramatic turn yet with our acute equity victory in the legislature. I don't know about you, but that makes me very happy. So why are we so happy about this? Because of what this allows us to do. And I'm going to spend more time on this at our year-end wrap-up, Hoagies with Holland. But just let me give you a little bit of a glimpse into this now. So far, not finished, so far, we've hired 51 new salaried faculty positions to support over 600 courses, improve our faculty adjunct ratios to 54%. Just to put this in historical terms then, look at what that has meant. We had a goal set for us of 55% for university status. And we got pretty close that year before, which looked like we were on our way, and so the regent said, okay, we'll let you become a university. But then we had the double whammy of the environment and our growth, and we had to make some cuts and all of that. You know the story, and so that was going down and down. We've been steadily coming back, making that a priority, and now we haven't yet actually achieved our goal for university status, so we need to stay at that, but we're farther ahead than we were as we came into university status. So that's a significant thing we've been able to do as a result of the acute equity money. On the staff side, 47 salaried staff, academic advisors, engaged learning support, IT. We're going to hire an Office of General Counsel and more support for compliance and all these issues that are steadily on the rise for us given the current environment in which we live, that will significantly enhance the quality of our services, give some of you poor folks an absolute break who've been juggling 2 or 3 jobs, frankly. This is going to help, I think, in so many ways on that front. And then, of course, if we talk about student success being at the heart of all that we do, this is in some ways our greatest accomplishment. Our record-setting graduation last year of over 5,000 graduates, a sea of graduates at a time when college education has never been more needed or more important in this state and around the world. And what thrills me about this is not just the number of those students, but the profile of those students. So stay with me for just a minute as we kind of summarize the phase. Well, actually, I'm a little ahead of myself. Look at this statistic in terms of what's happening in the system in terms of numbers of graduates produced since 2009. Look how far we outstrip every other institution in terms of just numbers of graduates into the system. That is a remarkable story. It's a compliment to all of you and what you're doing on the day-to-day basis with these students moving forward. But again, as exciting as the numbers are about numbers of students in the thousands, numbers of changes in degrees awarded relative to other institutions, the really critical thing are the students themselves. And we have such a terrific, lovable, if you will, bunch of students who, frankly, are not always in the best position to succeed. and yet we're helping them succeed here on scale. Look at what some of our students are facing in their own individual lives. 76% of our students are employed in some way. 56% work more than 30 hours a week. There just are not many institutions that look like that. Certainly not of our size and of our university status. 45% are married. 23% support at least one child. 37% attend part-time. 25 is the average age of our student, and 41% are 25 or older. It's also a quarter of our students are first-generation students coming from families that have no history, no background with coming into college and knowing what that might mean and what it takes to succeed and thrive in that setting. And yet they're coming here and they're doing it and they're succeeding. People of color, look at what's happened to our enrollments as we strive to be more inclusive and make this a more inviting place for students from all backgrounds and cultures. And in addition to this, we are attracting and helping these very students and others who aren't first generation, who aren't working, who are highly well prepared, are coming here and making this a first choice destination institution. And what they're accomplishing is remarkable. Just a handful of things. I could go on and on, but just a few little kind of treetop pictures here. Daniel squared, if you will, went off to this very prestigious national math fest where they made a presentation. That, by the way, is not just gibberish. That is the title of their paper that they presented. And they were selected for an Outstanding Presentation Award, which is effectively one of the top 16 performances at this national conference. Just a few other minor schools of higher learning that were also involved with this conference. Our Vivint Smart Lab is up and running. I think it's the most sophisticated sales practitioner lab, if you will, that probably exists in the nation right now. And it's being utilized by our programming. Send our students off for an American Marketing Association strategy competition in sales. Our team here, pictured on the left, won first place. Second place went to a little school called Wharton. Adobe, our neighbors, sponsored a web analytics competition, national web analytics competition. Invited student teams from all across the nation. Most schools sent teams of MBA students. We were the only school to send an undergrad only team. This team was made up of students from the Woodbury School of Business and the School of Computing and Technology, and they placed second. Schools that were eliminated: Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, and you can read the smaller print if you want to. Trying to be a good neighbor. Okay. Pamela Lara, this is a great story. This is a UVU story. Pamela Lara is an immigrant. Came to UVU under our great, inviting, inclusive, open admissions environment, and discovered she had a love of the stars, of physics, and a certain aptitude for it. So she went in as a double major into physics and physics education, and worked with our great faculty in a laboratory situation that is shared with UVU and BYU, and she personally has discovered 7 new stars and has presented her findings about this in national venues. She'll be as competitive as probably any student there is for top graduate programs in physics around the nation. That is, absolutely. Thank you. Well, these students don't achieve this without great faculty. And here again, I could go on and on about the accomplishments of our great faculty. Just a few snapshots here. I want to just get a few of these facts right. Dr. Michael Minch. Dr. Michael Minch, professor of philosophy in the Peace and Justice Studies program, is bringing international acclaim to this institution through the work that he's doing with student groups that go all over the world, especially to some of our hot spots where there's true regional, intercultural conflict, Cuba, Ireland. He's got a group heading over to Russia. His students have enjoyed internship opportunities in Jordan, Argentina, Switzerland, Thailand, and these students under his leadership are developing a premier database examining issues of conflict resolution and sustainable development in these areas where conflict is so prominent. And other countries where this work is being engaged in: Nepal, Uganda, Mali, Albania, and the various stands, if you will. So we are so excited about the work that Carolyn and Violetta are doing. They're teaming up together, or have teamed up together, if you will, on a Math Girls Rock program. If you haven't heard about this, you should. It's getting national attention. It's promoting math and engagement in math for girls at every level, but starting at the high school level. And it has received national attention. It's got external support from the Tensor Grant Program for Women in Mathematics, sponsored by the American Mathematical Association. And this is regularly featured item of discussion in those national meetings. Extremely thrilled with what they're doing there. Axel Ramirez. I didn't want to do Axel, but I was forced to do it. No. Axel has built up from scratch a most amazing thing that just took place the other day in our ballroom. A few years ago, we tried to attract a gathering of students from the Pacific Island with that background. We had about 30 students show up. Through his work with Barney Nye and others, they've put this program together, and just the other day, they filled the ballroom with over 500 students of Pacific Island background who are coming onto this campus, getting energized and excited about what the prospects are for students here, and truly has, by an order of magnitude, transformed this little initiative into something that's sweeping across our region. Mike from Digital Audio. Mike is doing some really fantastic work. Again, national level recognition here, and on top of a heavy teaching load, 15 credit plus teaching load. He's regularly mentoring Skills USA students. They've come back with as many or more gold medals than any other school in that category. He oversees the UVU online radio station. He engages students by developing public service announcement spots that play on our radio and radio station emanating out of Park City. And his student, Aaron, I forget his name, Aaron, his student I know, went back to a national competition just recently where he won the silver medal at the Audio Engineering Society Student Design Competition in New York, showcasing a really unique analog synthesizer and using it as light to control its sounds. So again, I wish I had time. We could go on and on about our tremendous faculty. But before I do that, or before I take your round of applause, let me talk about the staff. Universities, we have to have teachers, we have to have faculty in the classroom. That's kind of the core of what we do. But we cannot do that without a sufficient support staff. And we just have an outstanding set of individuals helping us on the staff side. Travis Tasker, if you've had to deal at all with media issues with Travis, you know what a gentleman he is, how anxious he is to try to get things right for you. He's been the Director of Media Services and Engineering. He's responsible for integration and support of classroom technology, as well as other campus-wide technology-based systems. This is just going on and on, more so, gets ever more complex. He's unflappable in dealing with these issues as he moved forward. He and his team have developed integrated systems themselves, supporting them through their own lifespan, and this practice has saved the campus over $6 million, we anticipate, over the course of his contribution. We're very appreciative of Travis. Liz Childs. What hasn't Liz Childs influenced on this campus? She's the Senior Director of Enrollment Management. She's worked here since 1990. Just listen to the things that you all, most of us, deal with on a daily basis. The student banner module. She participated in or provided over 5,000 hours worth of service or training during implementation. One Stop was where she helped bring together many disparate areas of student support. Wolverine Tracks allows students to track their progress, a big key initiative that the legislature is watching very carefully. The ad card wait list, that's a highly complex thing that we've done to create efficiency. She has to work out those bugs. Again, she does it with a smile on her face and a level of professionalism that's just truly remarkable. And then Curtis Hall. Curtis is one of our terrific custodians here on campus and stands out in many ways for the alacrity of his response to the needs of those in his area, the professionalism that he brings in doing what often can be unsung work. It's such a great thing. You walk on this campus and compare it to other campuses, how clean it is, how orderly it is, how well things function. We have a whole terrific custodial crew that does that, and Curtis is one of our outstanding representatives of that. Would you please join me in thanking yourselves and your colleagues for their contribution. Well, it's exciting to be where we are. It's thrilling to be where we are, and we should celebrate it, and we do celebrate it. And I think some of you know I had a really wonderful experience earlier in the year with some students with a hike to Mount Timpanogos. We did this as part of my 5-year report to the community. And we shot a little video of that, and it kind of captures the essence of what I'm trying to convey here. In concert with our 5-year presidential report to the community, it was my privilege to join a group of enthusiastic and promising young UVU students on a hike to the summit of Mount Timpanogos. This mountain serves as the backdrop of our university seal, and its majestic heights are a natural and fitting symbol for the aspirations we have as an institution. It was an experience I will never forget, including my unexpected encounter with a mountain goat just a few hundred feet from the summit. As I sat there at the highest peak in our region, with the UVU flag flying in the wind, looking out over that spectacular vista, there with those students, so full of enthusiasm about their UVU experience and so full of future promise, I could not imagine a more felicitous image of what this institution has achieved. UVU's best days and most impressive accomplishments are still ahead of us. But in terms of the small trade and technical school that was destined to someday become a large and genuinely student-focused university, I am here to tell you we have arrived. UVU has risen up not only to accommodate the basic demands of higher education in our region, but to transform the educational and economic landscape of our community and beyond. I invite you to share the successes of UVU with those who need to know us better. Of course, the best part of that moment was the students, being there with the students. They were so eager, they were so excited, they were so thoughtful about what we're doing at UVU. We have arrived. We are a bona fide university. We are one of the largest in the state, one of the largest in the region, one of the largest in the nation. And we're doing it with great, great quality. And that's to be celebrated. And so I invite you, one more time, a round of applause to yourself and your colleagues for what you've accomplished here at this institution. So if I can borrow from my discipline of American politics, political science, and paraphrase something from the State of the Union, I think we'd have to look around us and say the state of the university is sound. We're sound from a physical facilities point of view. We're sound from a financial point of view. We're sound from a mission point of view. And we're sound from a future that looks bright and promising. That said, as we celebrate this sort of climb to the top of Mount Timp, which sits in the back of our seal, and is our mountain, if you will, which is a lot bigger than another mountain, but we are not finished climbing. And that's what I want to spend the next few minutes talking about. We have another peak to climb. We're not done. Our best days, as I said, are ahead of us. Our best accomplishments are ahead of us. And our challenges are not gone. And so we have to stay at it, folks. We have to keep working. We have to keep innovating. We have to keep thinking. We just have to keep going. And it's going to be thrilling. And we've shown that we can do it. So this isn't, I don't say this to say, oh gosh, really? We got to keep doing this. I say it to say, yeah, we get to keep doing it. And we can do it. We've proved to ourselves that we can do it. And so this isn't another mountain too high. This is just the next great level of accomplishment facing UVU. So I want to say some things about this. This is not meant to be definitive. This is sort of, as you get it, here off the cuff. It's really in many ways meant to be a conversation starter. Because I'm not going to have all the answers to this. The Cabinet's not going to have, the President's Council. You know, we've all got to be in this together. We've got to be thinking about it, talking about it, planning together. So, with that in mind, what do I see as the next peak? And here's what I see as the next peak. We have to meet growth. We know that growth is coming. We know it's our mission. We really can't negotiate those two things, okay? The students are, the demographics are changing. Our mission's improving. That's going to add to it. So the numbers are just coming, whether we like it or not. And we have this mandate from the state to be a growth mission. And so that's something that we have to do and figure out. But we have to do it in a way that maintains those qualities that have made us so distinctive and successful in the first place. Now that doesn't mean we're just going to continue to do everything the same as we've done it in the past, but it does mean as much as possible we hang on to those principles and those virtues and those values that have made this such a fantastic institution. In particular, there's no surprise here, we need to stay focused on student success. We can never take our eye off of that ball, so to speak. That's why we're here, is to get those students ready for life, for industry, for graduate school, for private sector, for family life. We're to help them, equip them with those skills and aptitudes and abilities that will allow them to succeed in those settings. That's what this institution is about. And again, the way we do that, we're going to be dead serious about standards, expectations, pushing ourselves academically, professionally. We're going to be engaged. We're connected with the world around us. We have that applied, practical dimension in what we do in our curriculum and in our programming. And we're inclusive. We're academically inclusive. We're open admissions. We're reaching out to underserved populations. We're trying to bring people from the margins onto the campus without alienating or making those who are in the majority feel displaced. Everybody is welcome on this campus and needs to be made to feel welcome on this campus to pursue their dreams. And then finally, we need to remain as nimble and efficient as ever. And I think we're one of the most nimble and efficient institutions of higher learning anywhere. I know there are days when it doesn't seem like that, where progress seems slow, where it may seem bureaucratic, but you compare what we do to any other school, and I've spent a lot of time at other schools, and we move like lightning in many respects. And we have to, and we need to work on that and get even faster. And we need to maintain these remarkable efficiencies that we've achieved to do what we're doing moving forward. So I think those are the broad contours of the challenge of the next peak ahead of us. So let me say a few more detailed things about that to stimulate this conversation moving forward. the growth. The growth is a state issue. We live in a high growth state. And that growth is expected to our population nearly double by 2050. Okay? That's not a bad thing, but it does come with challenges. And we have to be realistic about that, and we have to be part of a larger statewide conversation. We can't just do this in our own little Utah Valley bubble. We have to think about it in a statewide context about how we're part of a system that's going to have to deal with those growth issues moving forward. If you look at the growth that's scheduled within just our own service region, it's even more pronounced. So we're in a high growth state, and we're in an even higher growth county or set of counties within that state. Wasatch expected to grow by 225%. Utah County by 136%. We just picked up a little land on the old the little town of Vineyard. Can't really see that. That says 1,488% growth moving forward. So that's the growth that's coming. Other ways that we can look at this, we know what's happening in public ed. And public ed is, by the way, not the only source of our growth, but that you just track alone the growth that's coming up through class size that we can see right now in public ed, and you know that we've got to prepare for more students being on this campus. And it's also true that it's not just that they're in public ed, but they're coming here. Look at that statistic. What a transformation this is for this valley over the last decade, where 72% of those now come to UVU. I want to try to put this in as specific and clear-minded terms as possible to help us think through this together. So if we're at 31,000 students now, what our projections show is that we'll be over 40,000. Now that's not just a demographic issue. That's not just extrapolating from the public ed data. It's extrapolating from the larger statewide data. It's looking at other things like immigration patterns and state attractiveness. It also is a reflection of our analysis of our own mission. What's going to happen as we're starting to have more success, and we are, on things like retention and completion, which need to continue to be a focus for us moving forward. So that's where that growth is coming from. Now, what that means is, in effect, by the end of the decade, we'll add the approximation of what is Dixie State University today to our campus, at least in terms of numbers of students. Now think about that for just a minute. Roughly 9,000 students, a little less, at Dixie State University. This is what Dixie State has to support that set of students. They have a couple hundred faculty and staff. They have tax funds coming in. They've got square feet and 29 buildings. Now, we're not going to get that. Okay? We're not going to get the equivalent of that to support those 8,000 students. We're certainly not going to get 29 buildings in 5 years. Okay? We are going to have to do things really efficiently in order to accommodate that. And again, I think we've proven that we can do that, but it's just a reminder of the task that is ahead of us moving forward. We still, even with our growth, we're still, if you will, in the basement in terms of percentage of square feet per student. So we'll continue to push for an arts building, other buildings that we will inevitably need to build. We will continue to make that a priority. With that, then let me just say, the next peak, if you will, begins with one step. And that first step is the step we're in right now, the legislative session in front of us. So let me take just a minute to say, what are we doing right now this very day to help us move up to that next peak? Here is, if you will, a kind of a chart summarizing the asks that we have before the legislature as we speak. It starts with my number one top priority this legislative session: compensation. You folks have been working so hard, so long. We've had a little bit of an adjustment here and there. Other years we've had no adjustment, and with rising healthcare costs, it's sort of been effectively a cut. I've just said, because we made such progress on equity last year, which really had to be the top priority, we're still arguing for things like that, but really front and center for me is additional compensation. Those numbers reflect effectively a 3% ask, if you will. Now, I do need to stress it's performance-based compensation. That seems to be the way the whole state is moving. I've talked about it before that we need to become more meritocratic, and we're working on a merit-based system on both the faculty and the staff side. So if we get 3% awarded, that doesn't mean everyone gets an across-the-board 3%. Some portion of that would probably have a COLA element to it, but others of it would be determined on a performance basis. Also a little help for us on dental and health benefits. Beyond that, next set of priorities, mission-based funding, student participation. That student participation is a line item that reflects our ongoing need to have support for a growing student body and to measure us against our peers. So in other words, it helps in the spirit of the way the equity money helped last year. I was grateful that we got support from the system to say we'll all combine to say that's a top priority for us. Distinctive mission, there's a line item there. We have some asks. These are things that we have been asked where we can propose specific projects that speak to our distinctive mission in terms of technology, economic development, et cetera. And I think we've got 4 or 5 really good proposals moving forward there. And then finally, performance-based funding. You're going to hear a lot about that over the next few weeks if you read the newspaper. This is the big debate in the legislature right now. How much goes in there, how it's going to get distributed, how it would be analyzed. The presidents have been working very hard together to come up with their plan. Legislature's got its ideas. We're kind of in a back and forth right now about what that should be. All I can tell you is I'm going to basically leave this meeting here today and go into a set of meetings to take a look at that, because I think this could be a good thing if we get it right. But boy, we have to make sure we get it right. Some other states have done it, and it's had some mixed results. So, and it does seem to be the direction the legislature wants to head. So, all I can tell you is that we're working hard on that. We'll keep you up to speed as we learn more developments. There's an ask for research and graduate programs. We're not part of that this year. I stress this year. This is some major needs the U and Utah State have, but I've made it clear to the commissioner that as we move forward, we are going to need to add some graduate programs to this campus. We're now to the point where I think we need to start having serious conversations about what is the next level of master's programs that we add here at UVU, and then some statewide programs. And then, of course, the arts building. I think our announcement will has been really well received. I think people were surprised, unexpected to know that we had that kind of fundraising success. I think, as I may have suggested, we've never raised that kind of money before in our history for a building at UVU. And I think that's been a wake-up call to many of our friends in the legislature to say, oh, the community's behind this. They're serious about this. Now, we came into the session very lowly ranked. And so I think the chance of us getting a building this year in full is probably close to nil, frankly. But these are always multi-year projects. We're going to keep pushing, and who knows, maybe we get lucky, maybe something happens that helps us move along, but we're going to continue to push for this. And certainly with this kind of fundraising behind us, this will happen. I assure you, we will get this building. Whether it's this session or not, I don't know, but we'll continue to push ahead for that. So that's kind of the immediate, the here and now. As we look down to the next few months and years ahead, we have to start thinking about and talking with each other about the master planning process. We have a strategy moving forward that is based on, earlier I talked about how we need to be integrated with the state. And one of the ways that we're integrated with the state is to be integrated with mass transit. And so our master planning process really is contingent on and connected to a valley-wide strategy of mass transit. Here is the sort of a detailed map of Front Runner and UTA. And it starts up here with a stop in Thanksgiving Point. There's a stop here at Vineyard, right on the property that we bought. There's the intermodal hub station here in Orem, right across the street from our campus. And someday there will be a UTA stop down in the south part of the county, and we will have property down there. That's part of our strategy, is that we're not going to be able to build out this campus. We don't have that much more room left. So we're going to try to get the arts building, and we'll try to get a few other things, maybe a couple of other things, but we really need to start to have serious conversations about what goes up to Thanksgiving Point, what might go out at Vineyard, what's the future of a South campus. So to do that, just to again be clear, we currently have 10 acres on Thanksgiving Point, and it's right in the heart of one of the most vibrant private sector areas in the whole country right now. If you saw, there was a recent article in the New York Times about what is happening in effectively Utah Valley with tech commercialization and robust set of multi-billion-dollar companies that are developing right under our nose here. We have property right in the heart of that and need to be thinking about how we take advantage of that. As you go down the front runner stop from Thanksgiving Point, you get to our Vineyard campus. This is the outline of our property there. Right in the middle of it, we've got this acreage for our playing facilities, but we need to start to think now about what else is going to go out there, how we plan it. But you can see what a fantastic piece of property this is with us. Sitting right on a front runner stop, multiple points of entrance and egress for I-15, and it's going to be an essential part of our master planning process. And then south part of Payson. Part of the big decision here is where do we try to pick up property? There are a number of different options, number of different parties we're talking to. We're trying to do this as cheaply as possible. We think now's the time to do it. Before that part of the county gets built up, we can get land at sort of agricultural prices, but we need to be thinking ahead for that. So with that, we go into a master planning process. And here you can see, that's a little hard to read. I acknowledge you may have to go look at that afterwards, but we've hired an outside independent contractor to come in and help facilitate a visioning, thinking process about how we can master plan. Primarily, it's the Vineyard campus, but that's going to have implications for this campus and Thanksgiving Point. And you can see it's staged out nicely over a number of months moving forward. There are going to be, you'll see invitations to engage with this. We ask you to engage with this. We ask you to think about this with us. I think the more collective input we can have on this, the better. Now, all of that said, we are not going to be able to build buildings fast enough and build satellite campuses fast enough to keep up with that growth that's coming. So we have to continue to think about what we're doing with technology. And I'm really delighted with the arrival of Dr. Olson and his vision for how we can use this. And I think there's some principles. Certainly they've been principles that I've embraced, and I think Dr. Olson's improving upon them and making them real in many ways, and here they are. That what we do with technology is to be more integrated, not less, okay? There are different philosophies about this. We had a speaker on campus talk about another kind of philosophy. I think the philosophy that Vice President Olson and I have is that this should be a fundamental part of using technology as part of the learning process. It's not something that's done off to the side. Also, that as much as possible, it's hybrid. I believe in the magic of the classroom. I believe in the power of human contact. I believe in the genius of group dynamic and student interaction with other students. We don't want to lose that. But we do have to, facing the realities that we face, we do have to think about how to use technology to achieve those efficiencies. And so, on one hand, it's not just an efficiency argument, it's a pedagogy argument. We think that we can use this technology to improve the pedagogy. This is the way students are learning. This is the way information is being accessed. We have to be part of that. We should be help leading that as a learning organization, how we do that. So that's the vision for how we use technology moving forward. It's really not about a revenue source. In fact, we're just changing the structure of that so that it's not a sort of a self-sustaining money generator, if you will. but that it's just part of the integrated warp and woof of the academic program here. So that'll need to be part of the conversation moving forward. And then finally, an academic master plan to go with the physical master plan. And here there's a lot that could be said. I know that, again, Dr. Olson is thinking about a lot of things, having a number of discussions in academic affairs. I just like to throw out some principles and ideals. These are not exhaustive, and they're not meant to exclude many other things, frankly, that'll need to be dealt with. So one is the charge that more and more that we use really terrific qualitative and quantitative data to make our decisions about the educational needs at all levels for this institution. We do have the advantage now of living in a day and age where data is more accessible. We can make better decisions about what is out there, what the needs of the community are, and how we respond to those student needs and interests. We need to think about achieving efficiencies of scale with quality. That's, I hope, been embedded in everything you've heard me say today. We do have to get bigger, but we also want to get better. It's not just about scale. It's about scale with quality. And so thinking about that, and this building is an example of that. We are going to have to scale up. We do have to have some bigger classrooms. We do have to have some online courses. But how do we do those things in a way that again, retains as much quality, as much human interaction, as much professor-student engagement as possible. We need to establish processes for quicker approval of new programs and curricular changes. Again, that's that nimbleness thing that I'm talking about, and I think we've got work to do there. And re-examine general education to ensure that students are well prepared for the critical thinking and deep contextual understanding that life and employees require. We've talked about that before. Again, the sort of the urgencies of some of the physical needs and the funding needs have taken some precedence there, but I think we're really coming to this point where we have to have a serious conversation about what does general education look like in order to achieve those aims. I don't have it on the slide, but I have to add it here, if you will. Finally, it is, we have to and I shouldn't say it like we haven't been. We have to be very serious about retention and completion. We've started that. It's led to significant improvements, but that is the way the world is moving. It's more and more the expectation of our legislature. It's inevitably going to be tied to performance-based funding, and it's what we need to do to help our students. So that we don't just get them in the door and let them float on away, but we really bring them through to the end as much as possible. So they leave here with that degree in hand, which can make so much of a difference in addition to whatever else they may learn substantively. And so that would also be part of the challenge moving forward. Well, again, there's a lot more that could be said. And I've just said a little bit about the physical master plan and the academic master plan because in many ways those are front and center and kind of anchor what we need to do. But in and around that, there's just a whole lot of stuff that has to be thought about, planned for, innovated with respect to. And that's where I look to you. That's where I look to you and UVU. So I want to finish on this note. And that's maybe a sort of an unexpected picture for some of you, Speaker Becky Lockhart. But as I was getting ready for this talk, she's just sort of, the thought of her and her life kept coming to mind. I think, as you know, we lost Speaker Lockhart this year in a very unexpected way. She was 46 years old and at the height of her powers, if you will. Politically, intellectually, she was as influential and powerful a woman as we've seen rise to leadership in this state. And at 46, she contracted, or not contracted, but genetically had a very rare neurological degenerative disorder that took her life rather rapidly. The first sign that there was a problem was the day she didn't come to the ribbon cutting of this building. We'd scheduled the ribbon cutting of this building for December 18th. It was not, frankly, the most convenient day to have the ribbon cutting. For one, the building wasn't quite done. Usually you want to do that before you cut a ribbon on a building. It was the holidays. It was the end of the semester. But we wanted to do it when the faculty could be here, and we wanted to do it while she was still speaker, because she was fundamental to getting this building secured through the legislature. So we went through a fair amount of effort to get this organized for December 18th. And then we got this very unexpected call the morning of the 18th from her husband saying, "I'm sorry, we can't come to the ribbon cutting. We're taking Becky to a specialist." 1 month later, she was gone. She was a supporter, she was a friend, she was a community leader, and she's gone. And for me, it led to a lot of introspection. She's about my age, and you start to think about how vulnerable and fragile life can be. And then I sat at her funeral, and one of the most prominent physical things at her funeral were 2 UVU floral sprays up behind the area where the meeting was conducted. It was more visible than any other manifestation, if you will, there that day. And as I went to the Capitol Rotunda, where a memorial service was held, which had all of the leading figures of the state, every senator, every representative, the governor, the lieutenant governor, former governors, representatives from our federal delegation, major figures from the Catholic Church and the LDS Church, and then a room full of other business leaders, dignitaries, and citizens. And on everybody's chair was a card from the Becky Lockhart family saying, "Thank you for your prayers and concerns. And we appreciate them at this time of difficulty. And if you would care to pay tribute to Speaker Lockhart, please do not send flowers, but donate to a scholarship in Becky's name associated with the UVU Center for Constitutional Studies." That was what she wanted to be connected to in her passing. That's what her family wanted to be connected to. This is a remarkable thing. That of all the things that she could want to be associated with, it was Utah Valley University in toto, and in particular with a program that she loved, and it wasn't the only thing she loved. There were other things she loved about the nursing program and the Center for Women's Success and other things that she was engaged with. But this is how she wanted to be remembered. So that's one point. But the second point is about Becky's own story. You know, this was a woman who loved student government, ran every year, and always lost because she was too opinionated. Until her senior year in high school, when she got elected the student body activities secretary. There was not an opposing candidate. That was her first election. And then she gets married and she gets a nursing degree and she settles into life, and a neighborhood issue comes up and it kind of bugs her. And she and her husband start talking about it and say, well, we should do something about that. So they start to talk to a young county commissioner named Gary Herbert. And she and Gary have been arguing ever since. And they had this issue that they cared about, and so they got a little bit involved. And then someone said, well, you know, you really ought to get more formally involved. You ought to come and work on a campaign. So, you know, she went to work on a campaign. She was the balloon blower for the camp. Honestly, that was her job, was to blow up the balloons for a campaign, among a few other things. It was pretty pedestrian work. But with Becky like gusto, she threw herself into it and she blew up more balloons better than anybody else. And next thing she knew, she was going beyond balloon blowing. And one thing led to another, and soon she is the first female Speaker of the House of Representatives in the state of Utah. I hope that we could all, whatever you may think about her or anybody else politically. I'm not saying we all have to agree with every position she took or anything like that, but I would hope that for someone who loved this institution like she came to love it, and who did so much to help us get this building, who did so much to help get our equity funding, that we could learn from her life, that we could say, I'm going to make a difference in the world around me. And if it's blowing up balloons, I'm going to go blow up balloons. But I'm going to get connected and committed, and I'm going to make a difference here. Because it really takes everything. The complexity of this institution, the size of this institution, the nature of its mission. This is not the reflection of one individual or a team or a faculty alone. This is a whole, huge, complex organization that needs everybody. And so my challenge to you today is to channel the spirit of Becky Lockhart and to say, I'm going to get involved if you're not already. And I know many of you are. Maybe everybody here listening is. But if you're not, get involved. Or get involved with even more energy, with even more initiative, with even more thought about how you can improve the area where you work and make it happen and make it better. And according to the things we've talked about, how can we make this place more inclusive? How can we reach out and make everybody feel welcome? How can we push ourselves to get more serious, to have better standards, to be more professional, to have more rigor in the exchanges that we have and the projects that we pursue? And how can we stay relentlessly engaged with the world around us, responding to real-world needs and impact and initiatives? That's what we need from every member of this institution. And if we do that, we'll climb that next peak. I have no doubt. And you are just the people to make it happen. It continues to be nothing but a signal honor to serve with you in a work that I just can't compare in terms of its exhilaration, in terms of its importance in the world, the difference that you're making on scale for thousands and thousands of students and all of those that would come after them. Thank you so much for all that you do. I look forward to another great year here at UVU and decades of accomplishment that will blow away what we've seen today here by miles. You're terrific. Thank you very much.